Hello my friend, and welcome to another episode of Lessons on Learning. Quick videos, 15 minutes or less, just exploring different ways in which people learn and how we can use that information to create more engaging and effective sessions for our learners. If at all possible, try to create collaborative learning environments. When learners collaborate together, they can be much more effective, they can be much more engaged, and the learning can go much deeper. In this video, we're going to share with you three things that you can plan for to make sure that you get truly effective and collaborative learning. Let's go. One of the first steps that you could take in the planning process is to make sure there's not too much data delivery. In other words, make sure you give plenty of breaks in your data delivery so that you're not just talking all the time and giving information. You know, there's a limit as to how much new information a learner can take before they need to take a little bit of time and to process and digest that information. Think of it as a bit like drinking from a cup. If they're drinking from a cup that's got a never-ending supply of content in it, you know, pretty soon they're going to get tired of swallowing, they're going to get full up, and they're probably going to choke. And so occasionally it's a good idea to give them a breather, let them take a rest from the stream of data. It's what we call breaking the stream of data, and give them an opportunity to digest and to process and just kind of reflect on that information. And one of the best ways that we can do this is to create group discussions. So make sure that you put plenty of breaks in your content every few minutes or so, where maybe you can ask the group a question, or you can set them a particular discussion-based task, or maybe you could make a statement, something that can be quite provocative, and ask them to talk about it, or maybe just ask them to discuss what they heard and what they learned and what they're discovering. Just do something where you can break every so often to give them an opportunity to discuss with each other, and as the day goes on, discuss with people who they may not have spoken to yet. And that way you're getting a really good group dynamic, you're getting people talking to each other and making new friends and new connections. So make sure you build in opportunity for group discussions. It's the first step in creating really collaborative learning. The next method you can build into your planning in order to get good collaboration is what we call peer coaching. Now, peer coaching, or some people call it peer-to-peer coaching, is not always what you think. Very often people think it's just a case of putting very experienced and capable learners with less experienced or less capable learners, and having the higher ability learners teach the lower ability learners. Well, that's one kind, but it's not your default setting. It's not exactly where you should go. In actual fact, my advice is to always start with learners of a similar ability. So if you've got really good capable learners in your room, then get those learners working together to see if they can push the boundaries and kind of push each other and challenge each other a little bit. If you've got learners that are struggling, then set them one task that they can work on together, because there's a good chance that lower ability learners, they may know something that perhaps another colleague perhaps isn't quite sure of. So for instance, I might know A and C, and you might know B and D, and together we could figure out A, B, C and D. Is this making sense? So try to first of all find learners of a similar ability and put them together. The high ability learners can just be left to go off and to experiment. Well, not left, but they can be given a little bit of free rein and set some challenges. And even with the lower ability learners, it gives you the opportunity to get them together in small groups, by themselves or together in pairs, and give them some really kind of one-to-one coaching, if you like, to get them over their challenges. Then of course you have number two, and number two is exactly that, where you can put together learners of different abilities. And that's pretty much what people think peer-to-peer coaching is. But before you do this, make sure you set yourself up, and most importantly, set your learner up for success. Don't just simply send them out there, but let them know that this is going to be happening. Let them know why it's going to be happening. And most importantly, let them know what the benefit is for each particular learner. Otherwise, you have somebody like me who might be a low ability learner suddenly being taught by someone else who's a higher ability learner, and maybe I'm getting a little defensive, maybe it's denting my ego a little bit, or more commonly, I'm thinking to myself, but I paid for you to teach me, not them. Then, of course, you have the higher ability learner who's thinking to themselves, hang on a minute, I came here to learn something, not to teach other people. So make sure you set it up. And from the higher ability learner's point of view, it could be, look, this is a fantastic way to really consolidate your skill, consolidate your information, or figure out how to deliver it in a slightly different way by teaching somebody else. And for the lower ability learner, you can set it up as saying, look, this is a great way to hear a different voice, a different perspective, and see if there's another way that you can maybe find your way through this particular challenge. And so it's a good way to set it up with both of those learners. This needs to be managed really carefully, though. You need to manage what the higher ability learner is teaching, make sure that it is actually what you're wanting to share and they're not just going off on a tangent, and also make sure that the lower ability learner is being well looked after, spoken to in the right way and cared for and nurtured. So it does take a little bit of setting up, and it needs to be taken seriously. You need to keep a close eye on it. That's why I always say that shouldn't be your default method, but it's certainly a very good method if you feel you can manage it. Then number 3, you've got what we call small group coaching. Now this is where you might get learners together in groups of 3 or 4, and maybe you have them take it in turns to coach each other. It's a fantastic way to get collaborative learning up. So you set the particular group a task, get them together to work in 3s or 4s, and have them take turns in coaching or asking questions. So what they start to do is they're not necessarily teaching each other, but what they're doing is they're going over the information, coaching each other, and putting in their own little input. I understood it this way, or I'm having a challenge with that, or how do you cope with this particular problem as well. So small group coaching is a really effective way to create collaboration in the group. And then last but not least, you have got learner presentations. Now this, I guess, is kind of like the top of the triangle. It's the pinnacle, because what you're going to do here is you're going to get maybe 1, 2 or 3 learners, depending on the size of your group, to stand in front of the group and actually teach back what it is that they learned, or teach back what it is that they discovered. So obviously you need to select that learner, or you need to make sure that the learner's got a good understanding and you're not throwing anybody under the bus or putting anybody under too much heat. But it's a fantastic way to get people to build confidence, to gain self-assurance that what they know is sound, is good information, and it's a fantastic way to get the class to hear somebody else's voice rather than yours. So learner presentations, although it might be a difficult one to manage, and it's something that you get there step by step when you've built the confidence of your group, it's a really effective way to create collaborative learning. And the last point is similar to the first point. It's similar to the group discussion point, but this is about enabling the class to take advantage of what we call collective intelligence. And collective intelligence just means facilitating the group so that they become more than the sum of their parts. So let me explain a little bit more. Perhaps you're aware of a problem that the group might come up against when they're implementing some of the information that you've shared. Perhaps there's a problem that's already come up within the room. Well, rather than you fixing it or you solving it, ask the group to work together, to pool their experience, pool what they know, pool their intelligences to come up with a great solution for these particular problems or challenges. It's a fantastic way, again, of embedding knowledge and also building confidence in what they already know. Whenever anybody asks a question or makes a statement or comes up with a learning discovery, then it's a great opportunity to, again, take advantage of collective intelligence and ask the group, well, what do you think? What's the feedback? How's this been? Is this working? What's working what's working well? What could be made different? Is there anything that could be strengthened? That kind of thing. So make sure that you incorporate lots of group feedback. Get the group to feedback on themselves and to offer that kind of guidance and coaching. And what's happening is by the use of these collective intelligences, if you like, you're stepping back a little bit and you're allowing the group to take a much more active role in the development of the learning that's going off. Hopefully you could even get to a point where the group come up with something that even you haven't thought of. I mean, that's a fantastic opportunity when the group get to a point where there's some innovation taking place. And innovation can be wholly possible if you get the group involved in thinking about what they can do next, breaking through barriers, getting creative. So collective intelligence can lead to some fantastic innovation, or when there's a little bit of innovation needed. I mean, it could very well be that maybe there's some questions, problems, challenges that come up that even we as educators don't know the answer to. And that's a great opportunity to take part of this kind of group thinking. And then, of course, you've got accountability. So you can get learners to make commitments to what they're going to do with regards to practicing or repeating information or completing tasks. And you can create group accountability. So the more you can create collaboration within a classroom, the more you can create group accountability. So everything that we did before, opening up and making it safe for group discussions, facilitating peer coaching within the group, all of this contributes to learners being more willing to participate in what we call this collective intelligence. And this can really create a fantastic learning culture within your room. So make sure you plan for these eventualities when you're preparing your class. Make sure that it's not just a constant stream of data and information, because although that might sound like you're giving really good value for money, again, it's a little bit like chugging a drink from a glass. You know, a lot of it's going to spill out. There's a danger that somebody might choke on it, and it's going to be much more enjoyable if they can take and savor sips rather than gulping everything down. So there we are, 3 ways that we can create a more collaborative experience in our classrooms. I hope that's helped. If it has, please drop me a comment. Make sure you like the video. Above all, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and tell your friends if you know anybody that might value this information as well. And I will see you again on another episode of Lessons on Learning. Take care, my friend. Bye-bye.